Hey, we are kicking off a brand new series called The Question No One Is Asking. And it's a big question. It's a big question in life, but the unfortunate truth is that nobody is really asking this question. Now, we'll tell you on the front end, we're going to kind of be in this series over the next few weeks, kind of taking us into summer. And this is not a Northfield original sermon series. We have borrowed this, adapted this from Andy Stanley, who's a pastor down in Atlanta at North Point Community Church. And this is just some incredible content that it is so good, it's so meaningful, it's so worthwhile that, man, we had to share it with you. And so all the stories, examples, things like that you hear, those are going to come from us. But some of this main point, some of the meat is, man, that's really just coming from his brain and just his wisdom that God has given to him and that we wanted to share with you. If you're a student in the room, some of this is going to sound very familiar to you because if you were just a few weeks ago a part of our weekend retreat that we did right here in town, you're going to go, this sounds familiar. And there's a reason for that. The reason is we have taken that and used that as kind of our curriculum model for that weekend too. And so if you were a volunteer there that weekend as well, you're going to kind of get a refresher course. If you were at the weekend and you're going, I don't know, none of this really sounds familiar, please don't come and tell me because that means that either I didn't do my job that weekend or that you weren't listening. And so whichever one of those it was, I'm okay with, but just you keep it to you, I'll keep it to me, we'll call it even. Sound good? There are so many questions that we have in life. There's so many questions that come up about who we are, where we came from, all of this. Those of you who have children, especially small children, that you're in that phase of like they question everything, like that just doesn't stop. From morning until night, there's just questions all around. And you know, that's as annoying as that may be at times, if you're just like, if you ask me another question, I will end you. Like that's just how it goes. Like no more questions coming from you. But as far as that kind of phase goes, that is a really neat part of us, that there's a part of us that just wants to question. And it's not to question just because we can, but it's questioning because we're exploring life. And as our minds just continue to open, we ask questions. And so as you get older, man, don't stop asking questions because there are some very important questions that you and I can ask in life. But what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks is there's a question that I don't think enough of us ask when it comes to life. There's a question that I think could revolutionize your decision-making process. It could change the trajectory of your life, but unfortunately, far too few of us ever really ask the question. If you were to do a quick Google search and just say, questions about life, oh my goodness, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of articles would come up with intriguing titles. I kind of shared some and brought some, the 21 most important questions of your life. You're like, I should click that. I should learn that. 202 philosophical questions. You're like, I'm just going to skip that one, go to the next one. But 10 life-changing questions to ask yourself today, all caps, today. 28 powerful questions for a happy life. You see, there are infinite amount of resources out there that are filled with good questions in life. Filled with questions that can give us meaning and questions that can give us purpose. I kind of grabbed a few, but one, just a big question that we can ask in life is, what will people say about you at your funeral? You think, oh wow, like man, that's a heavy question. That's a big question. That's more than just what's going on right now. And if we are people that want to live a life of purpose, then man, we should kind of live into that question. Another one, what does it mean to live a good life? Wow, if you could ask that question every day, it would do some good for you. Where do you find meaning in your life? Again, that purpose comes back. There's just so many purpose-driven questions when it comes to how we navigate life. And then, my favorite one that I found was, what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. There's so many good questions out there that we want to ask and we want to hear and we want to know. But as good of questions as these are, I think there's a better question that's still out there that far too few of us ever really ask. And again, as I said, I think that if you were to start asking this question, or if you could go back in time and begin asking this question at a young age, it could save you a lot of time. It could save you a lot of money. It could save you a lot of pain. It could save you a lot of heartache. It could have saved you a lot of energy that you expended on wasted times in life. And let me tell you this, there is no prerequisite to asking this question in life. There's not a certain standard that you have to have lived up to. There's not a certain age requirement. You do not have to be this tall to ride. You see, there is no prerequisite when it comes to this question that no one is asking. Anybody at any age, at any phase can begin asking this question in life, and it will have meaning and it will do good for you. The problem is too few of us ever really ask it. And I'll go a step further. That for this question to have meaning in your life, you don't even have to be a follower of Jesus. If you're here this morning and you're just kind of, you're doing the church thing because somebody made you, or you're doing the church thing because you're exploring or you're wondering, man, let me tell you, this is a question that can have an immediate impact on your life, whether or not you claim to be a follower of Jesus. And that is incredible. Because we have a God that meets us where we are. We have a God that kind of provides a path wherever we are, and in any phase, in any stage, we can begin asking this question, and it will have meaning on our life. The question is going to come from a passage in Ephesians written by Paul. Paul is just one of the most famous Christians and probably the biggest missionary that we have in history of Christianity and going through. And Paul just wrote many letters that formed what we call the New Testament. If you've got an actual paper Bible, it would be incredible. But if you have a paper Bible, it's kind of on the back half of that, in the back 9, if you will. And there's a letter to a church in Ephesus that we call Ephesians in there. And that's where we're going to kind of jump in this morning. Ephesians 5. Verses 15 through 17. We're going to kind of read this out together. It says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil." Paul says, "Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." Now we're going to kind of piece this together. We're going to kind of go through it line by line then. But he starts out this way. He says, "Be very careful then how you live." Be very careful how you live. And you see, I think a lot of times in life, for me especially, there have been a number of times that I have not been very careful with the way that I live. And that word there, that word that Paul is using when he says, be careful, he's saying quite literally, look around. Pay attention to what is going on around you. Be careful how you live. I think far too often, we just kind of treat life in this way of we're just like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen today. I wonder, I'll just keep walking. I'll keep going. But what we figure out in life is if we keep living like that long enough, we're going to wind up in a place that we didn't want to go. We're going to wind up in a place that we didn't mean to be. And so Paul tells us that you need to be careful how you live. You need to be careful how you think. You need to be careful how you make decisions. You need to be careful how you move forward. And then he shows us the contrast. He says, not as unwise, but as wise. And what he's saying here, this not as unwise, but as wise, that living a life that is unwise means to live carelessly. That if you were to be careless with your life, with your decisions, with your money, with your relationships, with your kids, if you were to be careless in that, Paul is saying what you are doing is you are living like you are unwise. But the opposite of that, the contrast of that if you were to live wisely, if you were to walk wisely in this world, what you are doing is you're being very careful. That if God is leading you and directing you in life and you are seeking out his wisdom and you are seeking out guidance from other people around you, that what you are doing is you're calculating your next step. You're looking to your left, you're looking to your right, you're looking in front of you, you're looking behind you, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking at all around and you're making a calculated decision based on what you should do next on actual facts, on what is going on around you. You're not wandering aimlessly. You're not wandering carelessly because what you're doing is you're walking wisely, not unwisely. He goes on and he says, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. And if there was ever just a part of this verse that was just like a gut punch to me, it's that line right there. Making the most of every opportunity. Man, how many times have I been guilty? If you could just put out the list of guilt, the scroll would just go right out the door here this morning because of the numbers of times that I have been guilty of things in life. But if there was something that you could put on the list over and over and over and over again for me, it is that I did not make the most of every opportunity. And what Paul is talking about there is he's talking about your time. He's talking about the time that you have left, the time you've already used, that you can make the most of every opportunity. But I think in my own life, man, how many times have I squandered an opportunity that has been put in front of me? How many times have I done the bare minimum requirement that was asked of me? And then sometimes that I haven't even done that. But how many times have I done what I thought would just get me by rather than making the most out of every opportunity? Too many times I'm just guilty of this. I'm like Mr. Go with the flow. Anybody else just to go with the flow, bro. Like whatever happens, it's cool. And let's be honest. Everybody likes go with the flow guy, right? Go with the flow Trent, he's a fun dude, I'm not gonna lie. Uptight Trent, not fun. I joked to Anna at first service. I don't like working with uptight Trent because uptight Trent's kind of annoying and he's really uptight. But go with the flow Trent, woo, that guy is in. He's ready for whatever. But the problem is that if you go with the flow long enough, the flow is going to take you to a place that you didn't want to go. That there is a current in life that is pulling us along, and if we were to just lift up our feet, whatever it is, whether it's culturally, whether it's the way we spend our money, whether it's the way we make decisions, whether it's the way that we parent, that if we were just to lift our feet and see what happens, there is a current that is going to take us somewhere. And if we are going to be people that go with the flow, we are going to wind up in a place that we never intended to go. And what we're going to find is that if we go with the flow, it is going to cost us more than we ever wanted to pay. And it is going to take us further than we ever wanted to go. That for us, in this generation, for our sake and for our kids' sake, what we have to do is we have to be people who take a stand. And we have to be people that don't just go with the flow, but we take a stand in where we are today to do something that is right. And it comes by asking the question that nobody is really asking. Paul goes on, he says, therefore, do not be foolish. You see all of these contrasts here. He says, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Understand what the Lord's will is. And now this is the tricky part, because your knee-jerk reaction was like, understand what the will of the Lord is. If I understood what the will of the Lord is, I would have already been doing it, and I wouldn't have all of these problems in life. I wouldn't have all of these issues. But can we talk as adults in here? How many times do we just go, I don't understand in life. I don't understand, so I just did whatever. You and I both know that if we were to just evaluate ourselves and if we were to be honest, there is something within us that knows that something is good for us and that there are things that are bad for us. That there are things that are intended to do good for us and there are things that are intended to harm us, and we willingly choose the things that harm us sometimes. And we play the excuse, I didn't know what God's will is, or we make the excuse, or we look for the loophole, right? We look for, there's the line. How close to sin can I get without actually, sinning, right? We just want to dip the toe. It's just like, no, I'm behind the line. I'm behind the line. Those of you who have kids, you know that. They're like, where's the line? Right here? Okay, I'm not over it. I'm just going to live right here. But don't we do this too? As adults, don't we play this game with God? We look for the loophole. We look for the excuses. We look for how far we can go without actually going there. But Paul tells us the contrast. He says, no. He goes, don't be foolish. Don't look for the ways out. Don't look for the excuses. Don't look for this way to live life your way. He goes, but understand what God's will is for your life. Understand that there is a different path and a different purpose for your life. And so as we dive in, as we look at what this question that no one is really asking, it comes from this main set of verses, but really it comes from this. He says, be careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. And the litmus test for you and for me, for every decision that you have to make in life, for every invitation that you receive in life, for every opportunity that comes your way in life, you need to begin putting it through this filter. And it's a question that far too many people ask. The question is this: what is the wise thing to do? What is the wise thing to do? Say it with me. What is the... One more time. What is the... All of you just realized why nobody asked that question. Because you go, ooh, I don't like that question. I don't like what that question does, because each and every one of us get an answer that we know was there all along. But before we jump into there, here's what I want to do. On your way in, you were given a worship guide and also a little ruler. If you could pull out that ruler, if you can get it. I've got mine up here. If you didn't get one, I think they're out at the welcome desk. I'm so sorry if you didn't get one. On your way in, but get out those rulers, kind of open it up. And there, I'm going to ask you to do something that you probably don't normally do, but go to the centimeter side. That's the other side. If you were on inches, just flip it over. Those are called centimeters. It's crazy. We didn't learn it in school. At least I didn't. I just learned inches and feet and yards and stuff. But you've got this ruler. And here's what I want you to do is I want you to pretend that this ruler is your life. So when you go on that centimeter side, here's what I want you to do. I want you to find your age. Feel free to lie about it. It's between you and the Lord. But find your age. Some of you have been like, yep, 29, been there for years. That's the place to be. But I want you to go to your age, okay? Once you're at your age, all right, here's what I want you to do is just rip it. Just right there. And here's what I want you to do. Right there, everything from that point and left, that's your past. There's a cool thing about your past is there's nothing really you can do about your past. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take it and put it in your left pocket. There you go. If you don't have pockets this morning, then I don't really have a good solution for you. But just kind of put it in your left pocket there, okay? Now, you can take the other side and go up, and here's what I want you to do. It goes all the way up to 152. So if you're feeling generous this morning, you can kind of put some extra years on there if you would like. But I want you to go with an estimated ending of your life. Now, I know, you know, we know, I don't know what the future holds. It could end tomorrow, and that's just how life goes. But if you were to put just an estimated guess based on family history, based on just your lifestyle, the way you live, if you could kind of put an end point on there, your kind of ETA to meeting the Lord, you can just kind of find that number wherever you would like. If it's beyond 152, then use your imagination. But wherever you see that going, wherever you see your fulfilling life go, here's what I want you to do. I want you to rip it right there. And then I want you to take that, because what that represents is your eternity. And that's a different lesson for a different day. And you're going to have to figure this part out. And the good news is you have a God in heaven who loves you so much that he sent his son to take care of this part for you. But whether or not you've kind of got that part of your life worked out, I want you to take that eternity and I want you to stick it in your right pocket. There you go. Congratulations. And so what you have now is you have the time you have left. I had a couple people tell me after first service that they thought where they were now was actually, or where they thought their life was going to end was actually in the past of where they are right now. And so they were kind of living on borrowed time. I'm like, well, that's awesome, I guess. I don't really know what to do. But I had somebody else tell me something that was incredibly profound, that no matter who you are, no matter how much time you have left, each and every one of us, each and every one of you sitting in this room right now, you have 100% of your life remaining. That no matter the years, no matter the days that you have left, each and every one of us has the same percentage of life left, and that is all of it. And so the question comes for you and I, with this time we have left, with this amount of time that we have left in our lives, we have a decision to make. Do we want to live the way that we want to live? Or do we want to walk wisely in a very foolish world? All throughout this series, you're going to be faced with decisions and with some tension in life. And I hope that you meet that in a very positive way. And I hope you meet that with a very realistic way, knowing that the time that you have is not promised to you, it's not guaranteed to you. But the time that you have left is something that you should hold very dear to you. Because what you do with the time you have left matters. It matters not just for you, but it matters to the people that you're probably sitting next to this morning. It matters for the people that you share a home with. It matters for the people that you share your life with. It matters for the people that you work alongside day in and day out. That what you do with your life matters. And the question for you this morning is, are you asking that question? What is the wise thing for you to do? No matter what amount of time you have left, no matter how much time you have to go, what are you going to do with that time you have left? And here's the encouragement that I want to give to you this morning. If you looked at that remaining time and you thought, whoa, that's not as much as I thought it was. And you think, maybe this series doesn't really apply to me. I've lived a lot of life, have a lot of past. Here's what I want you to know. So that could not be further from the truth. That those of you who have experienced a lot of life, that those of you who have done quite a bit in your life and you look back and you don't feel like you've got a lot of time left, let me tell you, the reason that you are still here this morning, the reason that you are still here on God's earth is because I believe God has a purpose for you. And if you don't feel like you have a lot to offer the world because you don't feel like you have a lot of time left, let me tell you, I want you to look back in the other direction, what is in your left pocket, because you have a wealth of wisdom, you have a wealth of knowledge, and you have a wealth of information that there is a generation of kids and students who are going to come along behind you that need to hear it. And they need to know it. And if you're looking and going, I don't have that much time left, so I don't have a whole lot of time, or I don't have a whole lot to offer to this world, I'm just going to tell you right now, you could not be further from the truth. Because God can use your life and your experience and your wisdom here for his good and for his glory. And so as we wind it down today, I'm going to give you 3 questions, and they all stem from this question that we've been asking. 3 ways to ask this question: what is the wise thing to do? The first is right there found in your left pocket. That in light of my past experiences, what is the wise thing to do? You see, here's the thing. Your past is your past. My past is my past. You can't change my past. I can't change your past. And so what we have is just we have a past that we can't change. But I believe that your past can be one of the best decision makers that you have for your future because your past is based on concrete evidence. You can't change your past. There's nothing you can do about it. One of my favorite movies growing up as a kid was Lion King. Any Lion King fans in here? Yeah, woo. In this, there's a famous scene that I still remember. It's when Simba, he's been running away from home. He's been running away from his past. He ends up meeting this goofy monkey named Rafiki, right? And they're talking, and in this, and Rafiki saying, why don't you go home? You're talking about this. And he goes, because it means to go home means I have to face my past. And Rafiki, in his infinite baboon wisdom, he takes a staff and he smacks him right over the head, and Simba goes, ah! He goes, that hurt. And Rafiki goes, what? He goes, the past can hurt. But you can do two things. You can run from it, or, do you remember? You can learn from it. You can run from it, or you can learn from it. And then he swings the staff again, and Simba dodges, and he's like, it's a big thing. But in this moment, the same is true for our lives, that when it comes to our past, we can do two things. We can run from our past. We can avoid our past. We can dodge our past. We can see them at the grocery store and just ignore them. That's what we can do, or we can learn from our past. We can grow from our past. And when we are presented with an opportunity, when we are presented with a decision to make in life, we can think, what happened last time? What happened when I experienced this before? Some of you this morning, you need to take the example or the advice of Rafiki and Simba. Sometimes you just need to stop getting hit over the head. Because you've been getting hit over the head for years and you're questioning going, why does this keep happening? And it's because you're not learning from your past and moving out of the way. And some of you in here, here's what I want you to hear from me, okay? I am in no way trying to discount your past. Because I know in a room full of these amount of people, in the room of this size, there are a number of ways that you have been hurt. There are a number of ways that you have been devastated and things have been taken from you. And I am not discounting that in any sense of the word. Because here's what I know. I know that as devastating as your past may have been, I believe that you have a future that is far greater than that. That no matter how devastating or how hurtful life has been to you up until this point, I believe that there are better days that lie ahead of us because you have a creator God in heaven who loves you so much. And hear me on this. Your past is not an excuse for you to not live and lean into your future. Your past is not a reason for you to stop trying or to stop looking ahead or to stop believing the best can come out of this life, because your past, I believe, can be redeemed for God's good and for God's glory right here on earth. And so for you, in light of my past experiences, what is the wise thing for you to do? What happened the last time you went there? What happened the last time she called? What happened the last time he called? What happened the last time you said yes? What happened the last time you said no? What happened the last time you accepted that invitation? You see, there's a reason that history repeats itself. It's because you and I, we do the same things over and over and over and over and over, and we expect something different to occur from that. And the reason that is because we think that we can manage how life goes. We think we can manage the outcomes. We think that we can be the one that plays kind of the puppet master over life. And what we don't realize is that we're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. If you want history to stop repeating itself, simply ask yourself this question. In light of my past experiences, in light of where I've been before, in light of what has hit me over the head in life, what is the wise thing for me to do right now? The second way that you can ask this question is this, is in light of my current circumstances, what's the wise thing for me to do? And this kind of goes back to what Paul was saying at the beginning, that in light of what is going on around you, in light of what is going on in front of you, in light of what is going on to your left and to your right, what is the thing for you to do right now? Not forever, not the way that you've always done it, not how you're going to do it 5 years from now, but right now, in the situation that you are in the life stage that you are in the emotional state that you are in, what is the wise thing for you to do right now? You see, life is full of transition moments. Life is full of just kind of big defining moments. I know that some of you are graduating soon. That kind of day is coming. That is a big defining moment. And so for you, in light of where you are right now, in light of where you are about to turn the page in life, what is the wise thing for you to do academically? What is the wise thing for you to do relationally? Skip ahead in life. Some of you are about to get married. Some of you are about to have children. And so your life is about to change. Your life is about to look different. And so in light of your current circumstances, in light of what is happening around you, in light of the life change that you are encountering and experiencing right now, what's the wise thing for you to do? Because you see, and you know, if you've been married for a few years, you realize this, that you can't do things the way you did them before now that you're married. And those of you who have children, you're realizing, I can't do things that I did before I had kids now that I have kids. And those of you who are empty nesters, those of you who have watched kids grow up and leave your house, you know, there's a different way that you have to do life now in light of your current circumstances. It's not based on the past, it's not based on the future, but it's based on what's going on and what's happening around you. You have to ask that question in light of my current circumstances. What is the wise thing for me to do? And then, number 3, this is the most powerful and dynamic aspect of all of them, I think, is that in light of my future hopes and dreams, what is the wise thing for me to do? If you're a young person in the room, if you pulled out your ruler and you realize, I think I have a lot of life left in front of me, you have an incredible opportunity to get it right the first time. You have an incredible opportunity to do life in a way that can save you from pain, that can save you from anguish, that can save you some money, some energy, and can save you a lifetime worth of heartache. I had coffee with a student just this week, and he absolutely floored me. Because it's very rare to meet people at 16, 17, 18 years old who have a long-term view of their own life. If you thought back to, when you were 16, 17, 18, 20, 25 years old, man, past version of you didn't have a long-term view, didn't have what was best in mind for you in the future. And it's very rare, I'm really trying to push this for our students that we're looking ahead in a long-term view in our lives, but man, it was incredible to encounter it in the flesh. That this guy says, what I do now, the decisions that I make now is not rooted in what my friends are doing. It's not rooted in what might be fun. Man, if you could go back and redo some of the decisions that you did in life, right? If you could have that view and go, man, if I could make decisions not based on what I want to do, not based on what looks fun, not based on what's right or wrong, but man, if I could go back at 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, and I could make decisions based on in light of my future hopes and dreams, in light of the way that I see God working in me one day in the future, and make decisions now based on that, man, what would that do to your life? What would that do to your life? And you go, yeah, but hey, didn't you just talk about my past experiences are a good way for me to kind of look ahead in the future, right? It's just like, are you kidding me? We say all the time, it's my past that made me who I am today. Yeah, but man, wouldn't you rather have a past that you look back on that's not filled with regret? And it's not filled with seasons of mistakes, and it's not filled with seasons and phases of unwise decision after unwise decision after unwise decision. Man, wouldn't you just love to go back and do it again? And here's what I'm saying. If you've already passed that point, you can't do anything about it, yeah, I know. And you can learn from it and move on. But those of you who haven't walked it yet, those of you who are looking ahead into a future, and those of you sitting here right now that still have some future left, man, you can begin asking this question that in light of my future hopes and dreams, in light of the person that God is making me to be soon and one day, what is the wise thing for me to be doing right now? Let me tell you this. It's aimed at young people, but man, it's just not exempt on some of you that are a little bit older in the room, because it is an absolute tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy for you to trade in something you want from the future for today. It is an absolute tragedy to trade in tomorrow for something today that you will not own tomorrow. It is a tragedy for you to let something in your future go that you will gain something in the present that will mean that you won't get that in the future. And too often, too many times, you and I, we will trade our tomorrow for today. And because of that, we will never experience what God has for us tomorrow. And some of us, you associate with, you have friends you have people in your inner circle who have no future hopes and dreams for their life. That as you walk, there are those go with the flow. They embody that I ain't here for a long time, I'm here for a good time mentality in life. And you and I know those that are here for a good time often wind up in places that they never intended to go. Those that are here for a good time often end up getting robbed of something far more than they were ever wanting to pay. And so for you, what a shame it would be if you let the people that you associate with who don't have future hopes and dreams, who don't have something in mind for their futures, how sad would it be for you to let your life be altered and your life be taken because of the ones who want to have a good time? Man, that's what makes this question that nobody's asking, that's what makes it the question that nobody's asking. Because it is a difficult question, and with it comes a very simple answer, yet a very difficult way of life. Because with asking this question, what does the wise thing for me to do? What is the wise thing for me to do? Do you know what comes with that? It comes an uncomfortable clarity in life. It comes with you knowing what you should and what you shouldn't do. And what it also comes with is a challenge that you're faced with that you have to answer, am I going to do this or not do this? Here's what I want to give you this morning. I want to give you a little bit of homework. And you're like, what? Homework? You can't give me homework. It's a church. Yes, I can. But let me give you homework this morning that I want you to start just this week. And here it is. I want you to begin asking the question. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to start getting in the habit. When you're faced with a decision this week, when you're faced with an opportunity this week, when you're given an invitation this week, I want you to just ask the question in that moment, is this the wise thing for me to do? In light of my past, in light of what's going on right now, in light of who I want to be in the future, is this a wise thing for me to do? If you're an overachiever and you want to start doing that, that's great. We're going to kind of flesh this out for the next few weeks. But I want you to begin asking this question. And here's why. Here's why we want to talk about this morning and over the next few weeks. Is because I don't think that anybody sets out in life with plans to mess up their life. I don't think anybody sets out with the goals of ruining their lives. But I don't think that enough of us don't plan not to. You see, I think a lot of us, nobody goes into their marriage going, man, I can't wait for my second marriage. What? If you do, that's another lesson for another day, I guess. But no, none of us go into our financial or our professional careers going, you know what? I can't wait till the day that I declare bankruptcy. It's going to be a good day. Nobody does that. Nobody who has kids says, I long for the day that I'm just estranged from my children. You see, none of us set out in life with the plans to wreck our lives. But I think far too few of us approach life and plan not to do those things. Let me tell you, this question, what is the wise thing for me to do? This is your plan not to. This is your plan to not mess up your lives. If you've been there, if you've done that, if you've experienced it before, hear me on this. God can take your past and he can redeem it for something beautiful. And if you're sitting here today and you know that there are some things going on in your life that maybe you need to fix and you need to start asking that question, what is the wise thing for me to do right now? And if you're looking ahead to days in your future and you're looking ahead to a future hope and a future dream that you have for your life and that God has placed on your life, you need to begin asking that question and keep asking that question. What is the wise thing for me to do? If you're an individual, you can ask that question. If you're a family unit, if you're leading a family, you can ask that question. If you're a boss, if you're a manager, if you're an employee, you can begin asking that question in all avenues of life. This question is going to come up numerous times. That in light of my past experiences, in light of my current circumstances, and in light of my future hopes and dreams, what is the wise thing for me to do?